Justin Combs arrested for a DUI, Drake's fingernails setting the internet on fire, and finally, my ideas on how to quell some of the violence in drill music. All on this episode of the Kevin Jack Show.
Yeah. Swag. The Kevin Jack Show. The Kevin Jack Show. The Kevin Jack Show. Yeah, the Kevin Jack Show.
That's right, the Kevin Jack Show is here in effect. And this is a good show. This is a good show. For those of you who have not heard, Justin Combs, who is the son of Puffy Combs, Diddy, was arrested in LA, allegedly for driving while under the influence. Now, a lot of people are giving him grief on this. I'm not going to pile on, but I will say this. I don't understand why celebrities and those who have the means do not utilize Uber or some type of driving service. You have the money. There is no reason that you should be driving under the influence. Now, of course, these are just allegations right now. Nothing has been absolutely proven. But if the case stays the course, then it's going to be a nasty blemish on his record. And for the most part, Justin Combs has been, a model celebrity kid. Most celeb kids would be wilding out, but he's actually been a well-behaved young man. So it's kind of surprising to see him get caught up in this situation, but hopefully he gets it figured out and hopefully he is able to kind of bounce back. But I will say this, I just don't understand why they don't get drivers. Like, if you have a driver, if Diddy is your dad, I would assume that you can afford a driver or you can afford an Uber, because the cost of getting from under the DUI is going to definitely be more expensive than your own driver and the service of an Uber. Now, Justin has a bright future, in my opinion, in whatever he wants to do. He was an athlete at one time, but whatever that kid wants to do, he has the potential to do it. Whether it's going to be going into entrepreneurship, whether it is him directing movies, whether it is him acting in movies, he's a pretty talented kid. So again, hopefully he bounces back, but you never know with these situations how they affect people. So moving forth and moving on, the big story, which is crazy that this is even a story, but Drake's fingernails have people losing their minds. Again, he's hanging out with Lil Yachty, and Lil Yachty has the fingernail polish brand. So to me, it's not shocking. It's Drake. It's Drake. It's just not shocking. A lot of people were upset. They say that he's sending the wrong message to the youth and that he should be more masculine in how he presents himself. But frankly, I don't care. I really don't. It doesn't make me like him or dislike him anymore. The fact that he is hanging out with Yachty makes me understand what they got going on. I mean, you're normally going to do what your friends do. And Yachty has shown in the past that he likes to paint his nails. And remember, he sent the internet in an outrage when he did the same thing. Now, to me, I think Drake is trolling. And I think the way it was filmed, I feel like it's definitely a troll. He's trying to get people talking. On that same stream, right, his card was declined. And we're talking about Drake. I don't anticipate that Drake's card would ever be declined. And so to me, this looked like a ploy for views. It looks like a ploy for Drake to hawk whatever he is selling or whatever new release he's going to be dropping. I personally don't think that he has an affinity for fingernail polish, but I do think Drake has an affinity for selling records, and he knows how to do so. He knows how to keep his name circulating, even if he's not dropping a song. Now, to me, all he has to do is drop a record, and people are going to flock to him. But of course, he's getting closer towards that age of 40, and so he's going to have to figure out a way to keep himself relevant. What better way than hanging out with Yachty and just setting the internet ablaze? Because if we know one thing, we know that the internet hates when Yachty does anything. Remember that Yachty CD cover, the cover to his debut album, how that was received? You just got to think, like, Drake's taking some pages out of Yachty book, and Yachty, for the career that he's had, he's stellar at doing the same thing. I think this is just them kind of poking fun at, you know, whatever the media or the public thinks, and they're going to have fun with it. And so good job for Drake. Kudos for Drake. And, you know, I think he's going to probably sell some more records, and this could be another business opportunity. I mean, you're probably going to see middle-aged men start wearing Drake colored nail polish. That yellow color that he was wearing, it matched the jacket. So I assume that we're going to start seeing this in men's fashion. It's going to be everywhere because, you know, people try to follow the trends of Drake. And so I anticipate that we're actually going to see that be a thing in the near future. So don't get surprised if you see Drake rolling out a new line of fingernail polish. Him and Yachty might do a fingernail polish collab. They might have a matching purse to go with it. Who knows? Only they do. Now, moving forward, we got the whole YNW Melly trial that is essentially underway, and it's going to be scary for him. And I'm gonna just sit here for a minute, but I'm telling you right now, Melly is in trouble. I'll say it again. Melly is in trouble. Now, a judge recently decided that they can decide that this kid gets the death penalty with a 8-4 vote, right? And so this is a little bit different. Normally, when juries decide something, it has to be a unanimous decision. Now you're talking about 2/3 of a vote for this dude's life. And while we don't know yet if he's going to have enough evidence supporting him and his story to get out of this, we do know that Florida and Texas are death penalty happy states, and YNW Melly would be a huge name. It would be a huge win for those who back law and order style politics, and it would really put Florida on the map, especially when you have a governor who has a potential presidential run in his future. So I think this is all shaping up in the worst way for Melly, because it's a bit harder to get 12 individuals on the same page. To get 8 out of the 12, that's going to be a little bit easier. And I think this is all calculated. I'm not saying that it's a conspiracy, but I do think that there is a calculated plan to really try to win this case, at least for the state. And of course, they have their hands full, but there is a ton of evidence that could legitimately and literally bury Melly with this. And so don't be surprised if he becomes the poster child for law and order style politics during this whole trial. This is the worst time that he could be having this trial, because keep in mind, DeSantis is gearing up for a presidential run. What better way to say that you fight crime than to put up this multi-platinum selling rapper who to most people would look, he looks like he's dangerous, at least to a segment of the population. What better way to push your agenda than to prop him up in front of everybody and say, look, I got this guy off the streets. I got a guy who was talking about committing crimes and committing acts of violence and actually went out there and did it. Here's how we do it. And so I think it's an uphill battle for Melly. I just think it is. I think it's no way around it. He's going to be in the literal fight for his life. And it's unfair. The way this thing is timed out, it almost seems like it was planned. But I do understand that, you know, the defense asked for some of these things to be pushed back. But the way it's gearing up and setting up for this trial to run its course, it's going to be right when the, you know, political season really kicks off for the 2024 election. But I might be wrong on this. Now, in the realm of violence and rap, I have some ideas about how we address actual violence and actual crimes that are being mentioned in the records, specifically drill records. And most people are not going to be a fan of this, but I'm going to say it. Those who are doing drill music and then the music is able to be tied to specific events, I think you classify those dudes as domestic terrorists. That's right. Because a lot of these guys in these areas, they are terrorizing their communities. You got guys at 16, 17 years old who have multiple bodies. You got guys who are 12, 13, who are catching their first bodies. And this is becoming more popular every year for that to be, how you get on. I told you before, these kids, they don't want to be like Hove anymore. They don't want to be like Hove. They don't want to be like Drake. They want to be like Vaughn. And they feel like if Vaughn was stepping, they need to step too. And so that's going to be a part of the drill rapper resume in the come up. Is going to be how many bodies has this guy potentially caught? How much can I believe him? And before we even go that way, I would prefer that individuals who are caught connecting legitimate acts of crime to the music, they be just classified as domestic terrorists. And they are sent to Guantanamo or whatever CIA black ops site that they need to be sent to. Because obviously regular jail is not doing the trick. Regular jail, you see on TikTok, these guys are getting in there. They cooking on hibachi grills or bunk hibachi grills. It looks like jail is too fun. Jail is too fun for these guys. Prison is too fun. Prison seems like it's just going to be more of what was going on in the streets. No, I think we got to get a little bit tougher. We got to get tougher on those who are committing acts of violence and then rapping about it, because that affects everybody, believe it or not. Because for the guys who are just telling stories or who are giving a third person view on their environment, it's unfair to them. Because if they do happen to get in trouble, they are then seen in the same light as those guys who were drilling and killing. And I don't think that's necessarily fair for those individuals. And so I absolutely think that some of these up and coming rappers who are gang affiliated, especially, and they are trapped in the middle of gang wars, go ahead, start locking them up as domestic terrorists. The stop snitching and not snitching has done nothing for the communities over the last 35, 40 years. They've only gotten worse. They've only continued to be, terrible places to raise kids. And so if it is not of a benefit to keep these people out on the streets, then they need to be locked up. If you are murdering a bunch of people in your area, you need to be locked up in a CIA black site. But that's just me. I could be wrong. What do y'all think? Y'all let me know in the comments. It's the Kevin Jack Show, and we out.
Yeah. Swag. The Kevin Jack Show. The Kevin Jack Show. The Kevin Jack Show.